Commissioner Futch will lead us in the pledge.
How about with us? Dear Lord, we want to thank you for yet another beautiful day. Thank you for the rain this morning. It's welcomed. I thank you for all the folks that have come out tonight to help us participate in this experiment of self-governance. As you look over our meeting tonight, you look over us, that we behave and make decisions wisely. We thank you. We ask that you look over our law enforcement that looks over us, our first responders that they're protecting our community. I ask you all these things in Jesus' name.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Be seated. Sir, if I could ask you to remove your cap, please. Sir, please remove your cap. Yes, sir. Thank you very much. My mom raised me to be an old Southern gentleman, so I appreciate you removing your covers inside. Yes, sir. We do have all 5 commissioners present tonight for 100% quorum. Gentlemen, you've had an opportunity to review the minutes from the last meeting. If you have had an opportunity to come up with some corrections or amendments, I'd like to hear it now. If not, I need a motion for approval.
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Motion to approve the minutes from March 17 passes 5-0. Gentlemen, you've also had an opportunity to review the agenda for tonight. If there are no additions or amendments, I need a motion for approval.
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor? Motion to approve the agenda as submitted passes 5-0. Before we begin, I'd like to take a moment to clarify that the Planning Commission is a recommending body to the Columbia County Board of Commissioners. The decisions made on rezoning and variance requests tonight will be forwarded to the Commissioners for final action on April 19th, 2022 at 6 p.m. in this same auditorium. If you wish to address the Board of Commissioners at their meeting, please see Ms. Carol Harden, and she'll provide you with a request to speak form. We're less formal in this venue. If you have something that you'd like to add to the record during the public hearing section of our rezonings or variances, raise your hand. We'll ask you to come to the microphone and spend 3 to 5 minutes and give us your opinion for or against. If you become repetitive, I'll ask you to yield the dais to someone else that's going to give us new information. If you're here with a neighborhood organization and you have a spokesperson for that organization, I'd like you to go ahead and allow that person to come up and speak first. We also have a second opportunity for you to add to the record. That's in our public comments section at the very end of the meeting. Same process. If you have something you'd like to add for the record on virtually any topic in the county, please raise your hand. Again, we'll ask you to come up and give us that information. All that being said, I would like to take a moment to recognize Commissioner Don Skinner for attending tonight. We appreciate you coming out and representing your constituency. We've got one piece of old business file. Let me get my specs on here. RZ 220304. Mr. Butler.
Madam Chair, it's a request for conditional use for a gym at 1901 William Parkway on 6.157 acres, currently zoned M2, General Industrial. Property is located at the basic intersection of Champions Road and William Parkway. All adjacent properties around it are zoned M2. It's a little different not doing it, showing everything. So the request is for, this came before y'all 2 weeks ago. At that time, we still didn't have the transportation side of this figured out, the access plan to it sorted out. So now we do have a concept plan that shows definitely a preliminary plan for providing access to it. That was really the biggest issue with when it came before all before. There's still the number of parking spaces is double what is the max required by code. We can handle that during the plan review side of things, so not really a big deal there. They can also meet our landscape code with an alternative landscape plan. In terms of future land use, this is within an activity center, an employment center to be exact. The use meets all the intent and character of that activity center. So staff is recommending approval with conditions. Those all come from traffic. And again, they do speak to, I'm not going to read the whole thing. Basically, it speaks to they'll have to provide access to William Parkway Chandler is signal. It appears to be acceptable. They're still going to kind of work through that as we move towards the Board of Commissioners. And also, it does mention the proposed secondary access on the west side of the property must be intersection and sight distance, restrict unsafe or illegal maneuvers, not interfere with the operation of existing property or access. Again, staff recommends approval with conditions.
Thank you, sir. Gentlemen, have any questions, staff? I'll reopen the public hearing for this. Is the applicant here this evening? Yes, sir. Is there anything you'd like to add to the staff's presentation? Thank you, sir. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone that would like to speak either for or against this particular rezoning? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and accept a motion to approve, to disapprove, or to postpone.
Mr. Commissioner, I make a motion to approve with conditions file RZ 220304, conditional use for a gym at 1901 William Few Parkway.
With conditions?
Approve with conditions.
Okay, thank you, sir. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Motion to approve carries 5-0. Okay, before we get into new business, can I have a show of hands of everyone that's here for the Crawford Creek development? Okay, most everybody here. You're welcome to stay. We have had a request from the developer for him to withdraw without prejudice. Mr. Sterling, can I get you to go through what to withdraw without prejudice? I mean, go through the different motions that we can accept and how that is different than anything else.
So before you tonight, you could, as Planning Commission, you could make a recommendation for approval, approval with conditions, denial, or in the case of this situation where the applicant has requested to withdraw without prejudice, you could vote to approve that request to withdraw. If they are approved for the withdrawal without prejudice, they could apply at any point thereafter, tomorrow morning or beyond. There is no time limit by which they're on the shelf for a new application.
And it would have to be advertised.
Correct. Anything beyond what is already approved for that location would have to be advertised as a process which you've seen over the last several weeks.
And the reason I want to point that out, we've got a lot of things on the agenda tonight. If we decide to accept that, he can withdraw and live to fight another day. With the conversation that I had with Mr. Ivy this afternoon, he wants to meet with the residents again. He wants to talk about the realities of assisted living, townhomes, and come up with potential other projects such as either retail, professional, commercial, possibly estate lots, maybe a gated lot. He wants to come up with several ideas, speak to you all, and come up with a solution that everybody can live with. And you may not be able to come up with anything. So we will conduct the public hearing tonight, but any information you give us won't be based on anything that we're going to be voting on tonight, because we're not going to be considering that. I just wanted to try to take your all's time into consideration. If you want to stay, you're more than welcome to. And we'll open up the mic and we'll let us give you the opportunity to come up and state your case or your information on the record. If you'd rather wait, we'll be advertising this again. If and when they come back, there's a possibility they may not come back. They may not choose not to develop that property. So again, if you'd like to stay, you can. If you'd like to take a minute and leave, that's fine too. So everybody want to stay? Anybody want to leave? Yes, sir. It's approved for the use in this development for an assisted living facility, and that's it. We had one proposal 2 or 3 years ago, maybe longer, to change that designation to self-storage, and we denied that. So the use is as it was proposed initially with the Crawford Creek PUD. So, yes, sir. Yes, sir, it is. Yes, sir, it is. Yes, sir, that's correct. But again, out of respect for people's time, I want what you do tonight to be productive as opposed to just wasting time and listen to us go through stuff that may or may not have any interest in your alls.
Mr.
Daly?
Mr. Chairman, just to clarify, it's a 15-day, not a 30-day.
It's a 15, it's a 30, I'm sorry, it is 15 days.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yes, sir. We have not. We have not, so, okay, that's fine. Yeah, that's your prerogative. I just wanted to give your neighbors, if they had other things they wanted to do, they had the opportunity to go have their evening to themselves. But we appreciate you staying, because it is important that you all stay and see how we do these things, because it's not just this that affects you. Most of the decisions in here have a ripple effect across the county, and we do appreciate you being here. No, cannot. That being said, Mr. Butler, we have 2 massage operators licenses tonight to consider.
We do. We have the first one is MOL for Vitality Therapeutic Massage LLC, DBA Vitality, located at 4434 Columbia Road, Suite 204. For on-premise and mobile massage services. She meets all the requirements of the ordinance. Staff recommends approval.
Gentlemen, any questions of staff? This is not a public hearing. I need a motion to approve, to disapprove, or to postpone.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the massage operator's license for Vitality Therapeutic Massage LLC, doing business as Vitality, to provide massage services at 4434 Columbia Road, Suite 204, and mobile massage services.
Very thorough and complete motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, gentlemen, any discussion? All in favor? Motion to approve passes 5-0. Mr. Butler, second massage operator's license.
Yeah, this is a request for an MOL for Bliss & Co. LLC, also located at 4434 Columbia Road, Suite 204, for also on-premise and mobile massage services. They meet the requirements of the ordinance. The staff recommends approval.
Gentlemen, any questions? Okay. This is not a public hearing. I need a motion to approve, to disapprove, or to postpone.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve massage operator license for Bliss & Company LLC.
Okay, do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Motion to approve passes 5-0. Okay, if you've got an agenda in front of you, you'll see we've got a number of items here that are presented as information only. That means that these were handled at the staff level. These were items that they could handle and make the decision to either approve or disapprove at their level, and we don't have to consider it in this meeting. Bless you. But for the record, we do have to hear the presentation of how the business was conducted. So with that being said, Mr. Butler.
So the next 5 are all for the 2022 Augusta National Women's Amateur, which is currently going on, I think, right now. All this is out at Champions, also on Harding McManus. We'll go through each one individually. The first one is at 5249 Riverwood Parkway. This was, hold on one second. Right one, excuse me. This is for temporary office trailers and other uses per the application and submitted layout, approved March 15th. The next one was off Champions Parkway on a 5.2 acre parcel. That one was for also temporary office trailers and other uses per application. So other uses, just to kind of explain some of that since I can't show you, that is things like the trailers for the scoring tents, it's the on-site lighting, all that kind of stuff. So about, 3 years ago, they set up a lot of this. A lot of the electrical is already set up at that point. However, each year they have modified things and moved things around, so they've had to do TOAs every year. Really simple process, but again, they have to do it every year at this point to kind of make all these work. This is inspected by the Building Standards Department, especially the electrical side of things. But again, this is all very temporary. It'll all be gone basically within the week. So moving on, the next one was at 4945 Harding McManus Road. That is the church. That is for primarily parking for that site. The next one is at 70 Champions Parkway. That is also for office trailers and other uses. And then the next one is off Champions Parkway. And again, that's actually the entire golf course itself. So that includes, again, all the scoring trailers and things like that. So.
All right, thank you, sir. Ms. Mystery, we do have a temporary use that is an information only as well.
Yes, so this is for TUA at 3520 Washington Road on 2.58 acres. Current zoning is C2 for a car dealership for Jim Hudson Acura, and the request is for temporary construction trailer and sales office trailer. And this was approved on March 25th.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Ms. Montgomery, we have a conceptual plan for 1915 William Few Parkway.
Yes, sir. This is a revision to a previously approved conceptual plan. This property was zoned last year and had a conceptual plan approved just over a year ago, March 18th, 2021. They've since done a little more work and revised the layout, so they're coming back before you for the revision to that concept, primarily regarding the layout of the roads internal to the proposed subdivision. In that process, they did lose a few lots, so they're down to 71 instead of the 75 that were approved on the plan last year. They still have the same single entrance point on William Few that will have turn lanes, which are shown on the concept. And basically, instead of a series of 3 fairly long cul-de-sacs, we now have a loop road with 2 short cul-de-sacs for the internal road layout. They are going to have sprinkler systems in all of the homes, and they have noted that on the plan. They've also revised the stormwater detention to provide additional ponds to address some of the concerns from the county stormwater department. So they've made several of the revisions that were requested with that approval last year, and staff is recommending approval of the revised concept plan.
Thank you, ma'am. Gentlemen, any questions to staff? This is not a public hearing, so I'll need a motion to approve, to disapprove, or to postpone.
Chairman, I make a motion to approve the revised conceptual plan for 19 Parkway.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Motion to approve passes 5-0. Ms. Montgomery, we've got a final plat for Tillery Park 1A and 1B. Would you like to take these individually, or can we take them collectively?
We can do them individually.
Okay,
So Tillery Park 1A, this is the first phase of Tillery Park, which is located off Baker Place Road on the south side of I-20. This first section includes 39 single-family lots with a minimum lot size of 7,200 square feet and an average lot size of 9,893 square feet. Minimum setbacks are 15 feet from the right-of-way, 7.5 feet from the side property lines, and 10 feet from the rear property lines. They will have sidewalks on both sides of the roads and 2.28 acres of open space provided in this section. This does include the 50-foot buffer at the perimeter of the project. The construction is not complete at this time, but they are getting kind of the platting and the paperwork process underway, and staff is recommending approval.
gentlemen, any questions, staff? Okay, this is not a public hearing. I'll need a motion to approve, to disapprove, or to postpone.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the final plat for Tillery Park 1A located off Baker Place Road.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Motion to approve passes 5-0. Ms. Montgomery, Tillery Park 1B.
Yes, sir. This is the second phase of Tillery Park, so adjacent to the plat we just saw. So also off of Baker Place Road. This includes 87 single-family lots with a minimum lot size of 6,000 square feet. This section does include some of the alley-loaded lots in Tillery Park, which do have different setbacks from those front-loaded lots. So for the front-loaded lots, we have the 15 feet from the right-of-way that we just saw, with the exception of some lots that have an 18-foot setback to keep the houses off of the water line, 7.5 feet from the side and 10 feet from the rear. For the alley-loaded lots, they're looking at 10 feet from the right-of-way, with the exception of the lots where the water line is in front of, in which case it's 18 feet, 6 feet from side property lines, and 10 feet from the alleys. That being said, all of the lots still have a minimum driveway length of 20 feet, as measured from the back of the sidewalk or the edge of the alley. Sidewalks and street trees are on both sides of the roads, and 2.8 acres of open space is provided in this section, including 1 passive park area, and staff is recommending approval of the final plat.
Gentlemen, any questions, staff? Okay, this is not a public hearing, so I'll need a motion to approve, to disapprove, or to postpone.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the final plat for Tillery Park 1B located off Baker Place Road.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Motion to approve passes 5-0. Okay, we've got some minor waivers that were also, they're also being presented as information only. Mr. Butler and Ms. Montgomery, if I could get you all to roll through those 5, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, sounds good. This first one is 958 Woody Hill Circle, currently zoned R2. They requested a reduction in their front setback by 5.5 feet from the 55-foot front setback. This was approved on March 9th, 2022.
Okay. The second one is at 4492 Amanda Lane. This was also a request to reduce the front setback from 55 feet from the center line of the road down to 50 feet from the center line. This was for the replacement of a porch on the front of the home, and that was approved on March 14th.
And you have the next one.
Getting there. The next one is a reduction to the rear setback at 365 Canterbury Drive. That is a reduction on an R1 property that has a 25-foot setback of 2.5 feet, making it 22.5 feet from the property line. And this was to allow him to put a shop on an existing concrete pad. And that was approved on March 17th.
Okay. And I'm sorry, there were only 4. Mr. Butler, they all went page to page on me. You've got the last one.
Yep, I got the last one. 529 Stevens Creek Road. This is a request to reduce the front setback along Stevens Creek Road. That was approved on March 25th. The reduction was from 110 to 99 feet for the existing home.
All right, thank you, sir. Mr. Butler, we'll stay with you for a plan revision, file RZ 220315, minor S1.
Yep.
And at this point, I'm going to recuse myself from this because I do sit on the board of this organization. I'll turn the meeting over to Vice Chairman Dempsey.
There's a request for a minor revision to add the Boy Scout supply store at 4316 3J Road, currently zoned S1 special. The property is on the south side of 3J Road, and again, it's currently zoned S1. Pretty much everything around it is zoned R1. There is some S1 to the east of the property for the existing church. The request is to add the Boy Scout store. Again, it would be inside of the building itself. Again, we can show you that if we had the screens here. They would be operating Monday through Friday and also on Saturdays. They would be operating primarily for Boy Scouts and their families. This isn't going to be like, you're not going to stop in and go get some things there if you're not within the Boy Scouts themselves. The property has had commercial use there before in the past. So again, really no issues with that. They have produced a building layout showing where this store is going to be. In terms of the actual traffic, it's probably going to have a slight increase within the area. Overall, staff has no concerns with the request and recommends approval.
Do we have a motion to accept or deny 3J Road?
Mr. Vice Chairman, I make a motion to approve file RZ 22-03-15, minor S1 revision.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? Questions? All in favor signify by raising your right hand.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Hey, let's see, Ms. Montgomery, we've got a provisional home op for Phillips 66 Grading and Lawn.
Yes, sir. This is a request for a provisional home occupation at 935 Carlene Drive, which is off Harlem Grovetown Road. The applicant is proposing a grading and lawn service business that would operate from the property. He would have a truck and trailer related to the business, as well as a tractor and a lawnmower. The tractor, lawnmower, and trailer already exist on the property and are used by the applicant to maintain his own land. The provisional home occupation approval simply allows him to basically have these stored outside on the property and use them for the business. So it is the use of them for the business that is triggering the requirement for approval. According to the applicant, the only item visible from the road is the trailer. The other equipment is parked behind the house. And this equipment is very typical of RA properties that have larger acreage, tractors and lawnmowers. And the business has only the one employee, the applicant, and therefore there's no additional traffic to the property either. If the business grows or requires additional equipment or employees, that would require revisions to the provisional home occupation application. And staff is recommending approval.
Okay, gentlemen, any questions, staff? This is not a public hearing, so I'll need a motion to approve, to disapprove, or to postpone.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the provisional home occupation for Phillips 66 Grading and Lawn Service located at 935 Carlene Drive.
Do I hear a second? Any discussion? All in favor? Motion to approve carries 5-0. We'll jump into our public hearing session or portion of the meeting. And the first item we got, Ms. Montgomery, file RZ 220310, major PUD revision.
Yes, sir. This is a request for a major revision to the planned unit development at 5048 Hereford Farm Road. This is in Crawford Creek. This is a major revision to revise both the use and the concept plan for the parcel. This is located on the west side of William Smith Boulevard, just south of Hereford Farm Road, near the entrance to Crawford Creek. And again, is currently zoned planned unit development. That zoning was first applied in 2005. Crawford Creek expanded with a second zoning in 2005, and then again in 2018 to add Crawford Creek South. The subject parcel was added to the PUD under the second rezoning in 2005, and it's at that point that the current allowed use for assisted living was established. The site is currently undeveloped and is fairly level, but does have floodway, floodplain, and wetlands areas on the property. The current approved use is about 4.5 acres of the site for assisted living. The development examples submitted at the time were a 3-story building, but there was no density or resident count provided with the rezoning approval. In 2014, there was a revision proposed for CC uses and self-storage that was turned down by the Board of Commissioners with the condition that the property revert back to the allowed use from 2005, which was the assisted living facility. The current proposed revision was for 64 townhouses with 2 entrances off of William Smith. Because of the wetlands and area on the property, they were essentially split into 2 sections, the northern section being 3-story, primarily alley-loaded with attached garages and a central park, and the southern section being 2-story with detached garages. And there were 2 alternate turnaround options provided for this section, either a cul-de-sac or a hammerhead, and the hammerhead would have guest parking kind of along the roadway. This was reviewed by all of the county departments, and there were notes made regarding required fire access that were addressed by the applicant to widen the roads out in that 3-story section to meet the 26-foot wide roads that are required for fire access. Traffic engineering also reviewed the access points on William Smith, and they indicated that the points proposed should meet site distance requirements, although that would be verified with the actual construction plans, and that the entrances would have to meet the county access improvements policy, and which may require improvements at those entrances. There is a portion of the development proposed that was within the floodplain. There are specific engineering requirements related to developing within the floodplain, relating to any potential rise in the flood elevations. Depending on the results of that, it may be able to be permitted by the county or may require FEMA permitting for that portion of the development. This property is in the neighborhood's character area, and that character area is intended for residential development. With the most recent revision, that area does allow up to 15% of lots in planned developments like this one to be townhomes. That was in line with what we have seen in some of our larger planned developments, Crawford Creek being one of them that already has existing townhomes, as well as Canterbury Farms and Ivy Falls and other large PUDs. The number of townhouses proposed does fall within these guidelines. Would be just under 14% of the lots in the overall project. The applicant has requested to withdraw this application without prejudice, and staff was recommending approval.
Okay, gentlemen, any questions of staff? Okay, is the applicant here? Yes, sir. Would you like to come up forward and give us any additional information? Please give us your name and home address for the record.
I'm Jason Winkter with Basin Development Group, 17578 Atomic Road, Aiken, South Carolina, 29803. We are requesting to withdraw this application without prejudice, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Gentlemen, do you have any questions? Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, this is a public hearing. So is there anybody else that would like to come forward? Please do. Come give us your name and home address and any additional information you'd like to have.
My name's Cody Turner. I'm a resident of Crawford Creek. I live at 537 Bunchgrass Street in Evans. I wanted to put it out there for the commission to just receive for later times because this is an application for withdrawal with prejudice, so they could come back and ask for development options later. I'm a first responder. I've been a firefighter paramedic for 13 years. I've seen the devastation that comes from traffic accidents and deep congestion that we have at both entrances of our neighborhood, the current traffic that we have already from people living in and people using William Smith as a cut-through between Columbia Road and Hereford Farm. Both sides are already plagued with traffic accidents. If I had the time or the opportunity, I'd show you the pictures that I've taken just from sitting in my vehicle, watching the other responders respond to these things. So just for you guys' thought and process in the future, if anything gets approved, it's got to come with the infrastructure first. To throw up more housing, to add more traffic to an already taxed infrastructure, just doesn't make no sense in anybody's mind.
Great. Thank you, sir. Appreciate your service, too. Yes, sir. Please come forward and give us your name and home address.
Good evening. My name is Dan Reuter. I live at 1020 Highgrass Court in Evans, Georgia, and Crawford.
Do you mind spelling your last name for us?
Romeo Uniform Delta Echo Romeo.
Okay.
I'd like to first state that I want to address 2 points, and one's an environmental perspective, and the other one is from the character area map perspective for the Planning Commission, because I want to make sure that as we proceed in the future with possibly new concept plans that that these things factor into future planning. So on the environmental front for this AE parcel of land that is proposed for development, I walk those lands, and I have for the last 10 years. The only relatively level part of it is the floodway. right? And the rest of it is very steep and rolling terrain. My perspective is firsthand on that. What I would like to convey is that the cascading effects from developing on this land into the adjacent floodplain will cause cascading effects. The effects in the floodplain that is adjacent to it have significantly changed just in the last 3 years. 2010 to 14, I didn't notice much. 2016, I started noticing ponding. 2019, I started noticing significant areas of marshland development. Today, it is now turning into a swamp, all one connected pond that does not drain into the floodway. This has a negative effect not only on communities downflow from this, across from Hereford Farm Road, but you have a now soil erosion culvert carved along Hereford Farm Road going underneath the road that's coming from the parcel of land that's proposed for development, or was proposed for development. And I say this only to inform the environmental perspective that what we do in this green space area, this FEMA-declared floodway, and with state waters, is very important, not just from the perspective of that land itself. Can we build on it with engineering and capital investment? Sure. The question for the Planning Commission, the Board of Commissioners, is should we develop on it? Especially wetland. In a comprehensive plan by the Columbia County, it says we want to preserve by 2035 20% of our county's green space and balance that with the continued vital need for development. In what situation will the Board of Commissioners accept approval to preserve green space, if not a environmental resource of wetland? If the conditions of a wetland protection do not suffice to and deserve protection, what chance does a dry woodland, non-wetland piece of parcel of land somewhere have a chance of being protected? So I'm concerned about that regard of it, and I offer to the Planning Commission in the future, as we looked at proposed development, that any impact assessment must be done of the adjacent floodplain, because it not just affects the entirety of the Crawford Creek northern boundary, but it affects the communities downstream. And this floodway goes all the way through big portions of Columbia County. The second part is how we define the character area map. It's very important because in the document that the planning staff review of it, which is very good, it was very thorough. But the description of how we characterize Crawford Creek is inaccurate. It is not a characterization of existing structures in a community that is solely the justification to say that these proposed structures will match the existing character. The existing character of Crawford Creek is not about just the man-made structures. It is also about the natural terrain. If you go to the builder's website, their homepage, the Crawford Creek Homeowners Association, they use very specific words that have defined the character of Crawford Creek for years, and I compel the board to look those up. They use words such as nature preserve, on and on. The entrance to the community has won numerous awards for entrance, award-winning entrances. Why is that? It's because of the natural terrain around it. This proposed building on wetland is a detraction, removal, and elimination of that character. It is not additive to the character of Crawford Creek. So I wanted to add that as a matter of record. I have a document to submit for record that captures everything I just said, but
Okay.
Much more detail.
Please give that to Mr. Sterling.
Okay.
Thank you.
And really what is,
Thank you.
and I make some recommendations at the end about the future impact assessment of the adjacent lands, because that's important, not just from a homeowners association that will, when we assume control of the HOA, we will incur the burden of expense to put flood mitigation measures in place with the county, community support to control and mitigate damage. Damage is already occurring. All I have to do is walk the train to see what I'm talking about. And the other thing is, I think it's very important to get the character of Crawford Creek correct. And 90% of the characters described has been publicly part of the advertising strategy to sell homes in Crawford Creek. And I think, and it's words from the home builder themselves. And that's what should apply for a future description of how we apply the character map from the comprehensive plan.
Thank you, sir.
For your time, that was a little bit
Appreciate you. Is there anyone else who'd like to come forward? Yes, sir. Please come forward, give us your name and home address. And I noticed you've been shooting video tonight. These are recorded and are available online as well.
Just for some people in the community. Sir.
Sure, understand.
So my name's Brian Lugo. I live at 500 Oconee Circle in Crawford Creek subdivision. I just wanted to point out a few things. Some of the definitions that we're talking about right now for the zoning of the properties, assisted living type facility. And for future consideration, I asked that they think about different types of solutions and facilities that would mimic that type of facility. There's lots of potential opportunities to do that and examples. However, I would say that most of the people in the neighborhood realize that that lot has always been preserved for something. There's a daycare right next to it. So I would always encourage the developer to take that into consideration to find something that would complement that area. We're all reserved to know that that has always been set aside. I think the issue came in with putting more residents in a quarter mile of beauty when we come into our neighborhood. And that was one of the things that probably most of the neighbors took pause at, because that's their biggest concern. When we come in, just like the gentleman said, it's called Nature's Plantation, Crawford Creek. That's on all the advertisements. We just want to preserve some of our nature and our green space because it's very peaceful to come in. However, we do understand that there's a piece of property that the developer would like to do something with. Okay, however, property takes time to sell. It takes time to come up with a good plan for something that would complement it. A few things I would just like to add into the record here now. There's adult daycare, senior care centers. There could be a county senior center there. Memory care centers, rehabilitation. There's lots of other like facilities that this is zoned for that can go in that specific location. When you take a look at the widening of Hereford Farm Road, it's going to be 4 lanes. There's going to be a lot of commercial buildup around the area. And I know that the mentioning of about 2 miles is a reference. I have not been able to find the reason for this 2 miles in any of the websites when I've talked to the Georgia Department of Community Health, the website, the HFR laws and regulations. So I'm trying to identify this 2 mile stipulation about being close to major shopping centers or healthcare facilities. In reality, we have 2 pharmacies within 3.3 miles. The city center of Evans is 4 miles away from that area. So we do have close amenities for that particular type of facility to address. I just wanted to make sure I put that in the record.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate it. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak either for or against this particular rezoning? Okay, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Accept a motion to approve, to disapprove, or to allow to withdraw without prejudice.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to allow withdrawal without prejudice, file RC 2203-10, Major PUD revision at 5048 Hereford Farm Road.
Do I hear a second? Second. Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
I wanted,
yes, sir. Go ahead.
I want to point out and
Mr.
make
Denson.
sure that everybody understands something's coming there. And this is just a start of conversation between you folks and the county and the developer. And the developer has a right to do something with that property. What it is, none of us know at this point. But just remember, it's not going to stay like it is.
Unless the developer chooses to leave it like that.
Unless he chooses to leave it. But he's got a like right now, it's zone for senior living. So it's up to a lot of people to make the final decision on what goes there.
And I do believe the developer wants to include you all in that decision. So I would encourage you to interact with them and give them some positive input. Because I think they're open to try to not only be good neighbors, to do something that honestly is going to help them make money, but is going to sit well with the community as well. So that being said, gentlemen, motion's been made to withdraw without prejudice. All in favor to allow that? Motion to allow to withdraw without prejudice passes 5-0. Ms. Montgomery, we've got a change of conditions and major PUD revision on file RZ 220311.
Yes, sir. This is in regard to 2 lots at 819 and 821 Lillian Park Drive. This is in the Lillian Park section of Crawford Creek South. And this is in regards to the side building setback on these 2 parcels. They are currently part of the Crawford Creek PUD and were rezoned in 2018 with several conditions, one of which stated that side setbacks shall be 10 feet. These lots were then platted with 10-foot side setbacks. These 2 particular lots, there is a stormwater pipe along the shared property line between them, which due to the depth of that line, the easement over that stormwater pipe is 35 feet wide. That's 17.5 feet on each parcel. So the applicant is requesting to reduce the side setback on the opposite property lines of both lots to 6 feet from the 10 that is currently required. For both of these lots, that opposing property line is shared with another residential lot in Crawford Creek. The applicants have asserted in their submittal that there is a required relationship between the lot size and the house size in order for the property to appraise correctly, and that with the existing easement, the remaining buildable area does not allow a house of the desired size to be built on the lot. The two lots are along a curve in the road, so they're not exactly rectangular, but generally speaking, there's an average of about 40 feet of buildable width on both of those lots. The PUD for the Crawford Creek includes lots as narrow as 50 feet, and other sections of Crawford Creek include lots narrower than that. So there are quite a few lots in the development as a whole that have 35 to 40 foot buildable widths. Therefore, it's unlikely that these lots are unusable or even unusable in keeping with the character of the development, as that is very similar to other lots as far as buildable width. In reviewing the variance request, we refer back to criteria outlined in the county code. One of those is whether there are special circumstances unique to the property, and the related criteria is whether those circumstances deprive the applicant of reasonable use of the land. That criteria also specifically states that mere loss in value shall not justify a variance. So that while the drainage easement is a special circumstance, it is unique to these properties. It does not deprive the applicant of use of the land, and there is sufficient buildable width on these lots to construct homes similar to those on other lots in Crawford Creek. Therefore, staff finds that the variance and change of conditions are not necessary for these two properties and recommends disapproval of the request.
Okay. Gentlemen, any questions of staff? Is the applicant here? Yes, sir. Please come forward, give us your name, home address, and any information you'd like us to consider.
Thank you again, Mr. Chairman. My name is Jason Winkter with Basic Development Group, 17578 Atomic Road, Aiken, South Carolina, 29803. Excuse me. So when we set up our neighborhoods, we normally group lots by lot size. And so in this portion of Crawford Creek along Lillian Park Drive, most of these lots are roughly 64 feet wide, which gives us a buildable house size of probably 28 plus or minus 100 square feet. There are different lot sizes in Crawford Creek in Phase 8. There are smaller lot sizes that would allow for a smaller house plan. But when you have a smaller house, it normally goes on a smaller lot. So from an appraisal standpoint, we're looking at lots along this part of the street of, house price of $365,000. If we have to drop down to our smaller category of houses, we're at around $310,000 for a house on these two lots that should appraise for $360,000. So we're a $50,000 spread on that, and that's where the appraisal issue comes into play. So that's why we're asking for a slight reduction on the opposite sides of these lots to allow 4 more feet, which doesn't seem like a lot, but it allows us to get back to a house size that matches the houses being built on either side up and down the road right there. That storm easement, it's effectively a 17.5 foot side setback versus a 10. So, reducing the other side setbacks to 6 helps us gain some of that back. So that's the short of it.
Gentlemen, any questions? Thank you, sir. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here that would like to speak either for or against this particular rezoning? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and accept a motion to approve the disapproval recommendation, to disapprove the disapproval recommendation, or to postpone.
Just make the motion and in the affirmative, however you want to proceed.
Got it.
Mr. Chairman,
I'm glad you understand that.
I make a motion to disapprove file RZ 2203-11 major PUD revision at 819 and 821 Lillian Park Drive.
Okay, so you're moving to disapprove the disapproval.
No.
You want to disapprove the motion. You don't want to allow them to, okay. Got it. Okay. Do I hear a second?
Second, I think.
Okay.
I'm confused.
Is there any discussion? I guess my concern on this is how the comps of the neighborhood are affected. And by requiring them to build a smaller house, what negative effect will it have on neighbors, or what are the unintended consequences of that effort? So, any other discussion? Okay.
How many other houses are in that
There's probably 25 to 30 lots right there in that pocket that are all the same size. But no, not, the houses aren't already built. There's probably 10, 15 houses in some stage of construction, either finished or underway, that are in that 2,800 square foot range. So this one will be, if the lot size, I mean, if the setbacks stay the same, that these houses on these two lots will be 1,600 square feet.
When you laid the lot size, you weren't aware of this?
We didn't catch it, so it is on us. Yes, sir. So we're asking for some relief.
So you're asking for 6 feet on one side.
Yeah, to keep the shared lot line in the center, it has to stay the same at 17 and a half feet or 35 foot total for that storm line. The outer side setbacks would go from 10 to 6. That would allow us to gain 4 feet back.
Just on two lots?
Because you've lost 7.5 on the stormwater side of that
Right,
lot.
that's
On
right.
each side?
The question I got, because I passed by the old North Bel Air and that very long-looking house that's being built now. And I'm curious, do you have enough rear setback to maybe go with a slide-by driveway type setup and still get your square feet you need?
No.
So that it doesn't affect the comps?
No, sir, we don't. And that's not ours, that long one up front.
Yeah, I know, that's
That's an interesting house.
So you got this with the layout, and it only affects two houses.
Only 2. And we have checked the phases following it over and over and over again to make sure we can only say that we're coming with these 2, and we're not finding any more mistakes. So phase 9 and 10, which 9 has been approved already, and then phase 10 was submitted last week with no issues, and that'll be the last phases in that area in the back.
All right. Gentlemen, any other questions? Thank you, sir. All right, so gentlemen, I need a motion to disapprove the request. I'm sorry, been motion made and seconded, I'm sorry.
And that's to
I'm
disapprove.
in a fog this afternoon.
Disapprove the request for
Okay,
the reductions.
so the motion is to disapprove the request. All in favor to disapprove? All in favor to approve? Motion to approve the request to reduce the setback passes.
That was actually to,
Oh, to disapprove. Okay, so now I need
Now
a
we need
substitute motion to approve.
correct.
Chairman, I make a motion to approve file RZ 220311, Major PUD revision at 819 and 821 Lillian Park Drive.
Do we hear a second?
Yes, second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, all in favor to approve the request to reduce the setbacks? All opposed? Motion passes 4-0.
Is that confusing?
4-1 there.
4-1, I'm sorry.
Is that confusing enough?
I'm a step behind tonight, I'm sorry.
So just to make sure everybody understands, so the motion was to recommend approval for the reduction in the side setbacks for those 2 lots. That will be going to the Board of Commissioners.
Correct. And I'm sorry, I've been up since 4 o'clock this morning, and it's starting to
I'll make
catch
sure everybody understood.
up. All right, Ms. Mystery, file RZ 220312.
Yes, so this is a plan revision. Location is 770 Gateway Center Boulevard on 1.1 acres. The current zoning is PUD for the Mill Branch PUD. This existing site is undeveloped, and the request is for a veterinary office with an outdoor exercise area. The location is in the Mill Branch PUD, and it's just across from where the apartments are, Riverstone. The zoning is PUD. Zoning to the south is RA, and there is some C2 around Horizon South Parkway. The package has a plat of the property and photographs of the site. So a site plan has been submitted with this request. It shows a building in the middle of the site, a parking lot, and shaded area where there's an outdoor exercise area. This keeps the current setbacks that were approved with the PUD, with a 30-foot front setback, 20-foot side and rear. And the reason for this request was the original PUD had commercial uses listed in there, but they were very specific uses, and a veterinary clinic was not listed as one of the uses. the rear property line is adjacent to the apartments that are built. So staff is recommending a condition for a 30-foot structural buffer along that, which would include a fence and landscaping. And that would protect the residents from any noise from the development. The future development map shows us this is in the activity center, the mixed-use activity center at the gateway, and this meets the intent of that, and staff is recommending approval with a condition that the buffer adjacent to the apartment complex shall be a minimum of 30 feet, structural buffer and planted, supplemented to comply with County Code Section 90-139.
Thank you, ma'am. Gentlemen, do you have any questions of staff? Okay, this is a public hearing. Is the applicant here? Is there anything you'd all like to add? All right. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here that'd like to speak either for or against this particular rezoning? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and accept a motion to approve, to disapprove, or to postpone.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve with condition, file RZ 220312, major PUD revision at 770 Gateway Center Boulevard.
Do we hear a second? Is it with condition? Okay, all right. Second still hold? All right, gentlemen, all in favor? Motion passes 5-0. Ms. Mystery, major PUD, file RZ 220313.
Yes, so this is a plan revision for 2525 Trade Center Drive. It's 1.769 acres, and the current zoning is PUD for the Evans Trade Center. The site is undeveloped on this parcel, and the request is a major PUD revision and a change of conditions to allow one of the approved apartments to be located on the first floor to meet ADA standards. The location of the PUD is south of Evans to Locks Road, across from RecTech location. The zoning is PUD for this planned center. Surrounding zoning is M2 for industrial, S1 for church, and some C3. This is the one parcel that's along Evans to Locks Road. There's a plat in the package, and there's some site photographs that show the development so far, which is a mix of retail and office uses. So the retail village concept was approved in 2019 with a promenade with 2 rows of buildings either side of it. That was the concept behind that revision. There was a revision to the concept plan in 2021 that changed slight layout of the buildings and some of the parking areas. And there was a revised site plan approved in 2022, which was the current layout that we have that's approved through plan review. The zoning approval in 2019 added a condition by the Planning Commission that the project shall be limited to no more than 14 apartments on the second story only, and no ground floor residential unit shall be allowed. After review with the building department and the fire marshal that requires ADA compliance, one of the options is to locate one of the apartments on the first floor, which is what the applicant has proposed, and the other 13 apartments would be on the second floor. In comparison to this, the apartments that are being constructed along Ronald Reagan Drive in the PUD, across from the PUD Plaza, they have 300 apartments, and 6 of those are required to be ADA compliant. 5 of them have first floor apartments, and 1 is on the 4th floor. And staff, the unit that's showing the apartment is along Evans to Locks Road and near the driveway, where the ADA parking is shown on the plan. This still meets the intent of the future land use plan, and staff recommends approval with the condition that the project shall be limited to no more than 14 apartments. One of the apartments shall be permitted to be located on the ground floor and shall meet ADA accessibility standards. The remaining 13 will be on the second floor only.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Gentlemen, any questions, staff?
So to make certain, we're fixing the thought they didn't realize that one had to be ADA compliant. So we're moving it downstairs, right?
We're moving one of the 14 apartments on the first floor.
That really fits into the ADA compliance anyways, because if somebody had that, they would be better served on one floor.
Correct.
Correct, so, okay.
Then there's elevators?
The other option is to have an elevator, so that has been considered as well. But talking to the fire marshal, if there was a fire emergency, a disabled person who's on the first floor would have to wait on a fire rescue, whereas if they were on the first floor, they could possibly get out by themselves.
You've got the other apartments on the second floor without an elevator.
Right, and they're not required to be ADA.
Does the 14 units trigger the ADA requirement? If they were at 13, would they have the same requirement?
Correct, yes.
They would.
Just a percentage of the
Okay.
overall
Okay.
units.
Got it.
I'm confused.
But one of them
why
has
they
to
have
be.
elevators.
One of them has to be regardless, okay. All right, this is a public hearing. Is the applicant here?
The other 13,
Yes, sir. Please come forward, give us your name and home address, and any additional information you'd like us to have.
see what I'm saying?
Wayne Millar, 200 Beale Lane, Evans, Georgia. I'm here to answer any questions. I have no comment besides that we appreciate the staff. It's a positive recommendation.
Gentlemen, any questions?
I'm still confused about the elevator or not having an elevator.
So I'll do his sales job for you. If you put an elevator in there, you're really putting an elevator in for the purpose of one, because it's not designed.
Possibly. Because somebody that's not disabled could rent that apartment.
Aren't there gonna be 13 upstairs?
You've got to have.
You gotta have one, but if you lease it to somebody else you could potentially lease it to somebody that's not disabled. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And you got 13 upstairs without an elevator.
Correct.
Walk-ups, so stairs.
I'm surprised they're not made to have an elevator for 13 upstairs. Well, I shouldn't have done.
But anyways, you put the elevator in there, and forget the cost of building the elevator. The cost to keep that elevator is $6,000 to $9,000 a year for licensing and permitting every year. We have one, for the purpose of one. I just think that, if you really care about the Disabilities Act, and you have to have one, why not go ahead and do it right and put them downstairs? That's.
Put them all downstairs.
No, the one downstairs, because he only has to have one with. He's being required.
I know, and that whole thing defies common sense.
It does, right, but I think he should be punished because of
Right.
it, or anybody.
All right. Gentlemen, any other questions for Mr. Millar? Oh, thank you, sir. Is there anyone else that'd like to speak either for or against this particular rezoning? Seeing none, I'll close the motion and accept or close the hearing and accept a motion to approve, to disapprove, or to postpone.
Chairman, I make a motion to approve with condition, file RZ 22-03-13, major PUD revision and change of condition 2525 Trade Center.
Do you hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion? Okay. All in favor? All opposed? Okay. Motion passes 3-2. All right, Mr. Butler, file RZ 220314, major PRD.
Yeah, it was a request for a major PRD revision to reduce building setbacks at 5001 High Meadows Drive. It's 49.19 acres. Again, this request is to reduce building setbacks only. We're not dealing with density, lot sizes, nothing like that. So again, properties located at High Meadows and William F. Parkway. Property to the north is zoned RA for Misty Woods. Property to the west is zoned PUD for Tillery. Property to the south is also zoned PUD and RA. Property east across William F. Parkway is zoned PUD for High Meadows. So back in 2019, this got approved for 163 lots, with 122 of those access off of street frontage and the remaining 41 alley access. At the time, they had 25-foot setbacks, or we'll deal with setbacks from the property line and not deal with center lines and all that kind of stuff, just kind of keep it common across both the existing and also the request. I said 25 feet from the property line on the fronts on both the roads and alleys, and 7.5-foot sides and 10-foot rears. The applicant's requesting these be reduced to 15-foot fronts and 5-foot side and rears. They provided overall that this would allow them to build larger houses. Again, we're reducing building setbacks. There's more envelope for that. They've kind of given us some different size houses that could be there. Also, one of the things too they focused on was the ability to back out of a garage. So one of the things that's very interesting with it, with the side-loaded lots, you have very limited space to back out. So again, a reduction in that can help with that issue. Overall, and one thing too, to kind of illustrate that, when you're thinking when you park, parking space in Columbia County is going to be about 9 by 18. When you back out of that space you're back into, like out here, should be about 22 feet behind you. So it's pretty comfortable to be able to back out into that. If it's less than that, it can get a little tight. Now you have to start reducing your angles and things like that. Again, that's with commercial. On the residential side, it's not exactly the same, but that kind of illustrates the point of why you would go about reducing a building setback in this situation. Overall, staff really doesn't really see a reason to reduce the building setbacks on the alley-loaded lots. Again, if we had the screens, I'm not liking not having screens because I'm very visual. This is bothering me a lot. So, but anyway, you'll be able to see that if you reduce on the alleys, there's really no change. I mean, you're not improving the actual usability of the lot, because again, the alleys are coming off of the access is probably off the alley itself. You're going right into the garage. No real change there for the side setbacks. No real issues with the front or the rear setbacks, reducing those in this situation. We do have some conditions from both traffic and water utility that do allow for kind of how that'll work if this is approved. Again, this is under construction, so there are already pipes in the ground. This will require some modification of that if it is approved. On the other lots, though, the other 141, there's definitely a reason to reduce them. Again, the usability of the lot is improved. However, we cannot go down to the 5 feet. We can't recommend that in this situation. The 6 feet will give them enough space, and also we do have a pretty clear delineation that we have allowed 6 feet in the past for that. So again, staff does recommend approval. In terms of the future land use map, this is within the neighborhood's character area. This has already been approved in the past. We're kind of dealing with some setbacks at this point. Does meet the intent of that character area. So, that being said, all the conditions we're dealing with. So building standards, if you do decide to reduce it down to 5 feet, the setbacks, we'll have to have an as-built survey of the foundation prior to the foundation inspection being passed. Planning has a condition in regards to the preliminary plat would be required to be updated to provide updated building setbacks and typical lot layout diagrams will be required to be reviewed through Columbia County Plan Review. Building setbacks reduced as follows. The street access lots, front are 15 feet, side are 6 feet, and rear are 5 feet. Street green space frontage lots, front is 15 feet, side is 6 feet, and rear is 5 feet. And again, the alley access lots, front is 15 feet, side is 7.5, and rears are 5s. And also to clarify some questions about this, where a lot has dual frontage, front setbacks shall apply to both street frontages. And again, all conditions from RZ 190502 still apply. That is probably more of a concern for the neighborhoods to the north. There was a condition that said that they would not have access to it, but would provide the right-of-way. That is staying in place. We saw a flicker, but then nothing else popped up. So traffic engineering, again, there's some discussion on the 13-foot utility easement. We've already been in contact with the applicant to kind of work through some of those issues. It sounds like it's going to be fine, but again, the condition is put in place. Water utility has an extensive list, and again, requiring to have a revised utility plan. Lots K2 and K3 are going to have to keep their 10-foot side setbacks to allow for the 20-foot sewer easement between the lots. Sewer cleanouts need to be in a landscape area, and water mains will be required to be restrained joint ductile iron pipe that are under pavement, and then material transition is not allowed except that mechanical joint connections and structures will not be placed within 17 feet of a water main. That concludes staff recommendation.
Gentlemen, any questions, staff? Is the applicant here? Yes, sir. Would you like to come forward and give us any additional information? Please give us your name and home address.
Guys doing? I'm Joe Galino, Bill Beasley Homes Development, Bill Beasley Homes Co-op Development, 7009 Evans Town Center Boulevard. This is Laura. She'll introduce
architecture.
Would you spell your last name for us?
The word shell, S as in Sam, Agellito.
Okay.
And just to bring you a little history, we bought this project from Glomar Incorporated. That's passed away, so we had the opportunity to buy it. We are, as far as all the conditions, we're okay with what is in here. Will has been kind enough to explain some of the things that needed to be done. We do have, I think, a clarification, and I think it's the alley access lots. When it says front 15, what are we calling the front? We'd like to get a clarification. And I think Will and I talked briefly about it. To me, that would be the access, that'd be the garage side. That would be 15. But you have a 20-foot minimum requirement, so 15 feet, a 5-foot setback in the rear, in what we would call maybe the rear of the house, where the garage is not, doesn't really help us out at all. 15 would be, because you gotta be 20 feet from the road anyway.
Mr. Butler, can you
Yeah.
clarify that?
So the alley, it'd be, the 15 feet would be from the alley itself.
Yes.
So again, like we talked about before, you'd have, let's say, here's your house.
Right.
So your access is up here, so your 15 feet comes off of that, and your rear is down at the bottom, down here.
Which would be the part that's facing the green space.
Yeah, exactly.
We'd have we really, if you've seen some of the pictures and some of the things we're trying to do, when they got into design, they realized that, and that's what Laura was doing, we can do a lot of different things with that space. And it's, yeah, Will is correct, there'll be a bigger house, but it's also about presenting something that people want to live in. It's the saleability. You can go to a small house with a very small porch, or we can build a bigger house, we can wrap that porch around. The other thing is we like the closeness. I grew up in an area where, you know, you had your porch and then maybe about 10 feet and you had a sidewalk.
You're from out of town?
You think? I'm not, yeah, I was born and raised in Augusta. But you had that interaction between people. Now, I live in an area on Big Lot, and people don't, they're talking to you from like way over. So we're trying to create that interaction with a lot of this. And we have done it in South Carolina, and it's really working very well. And I think Laura's done a really excellent job on some of the maneuvering of the remodeling of the houses, redesign. We're adding in things, you know, and again, it's a bigger house, but we're adding in what they call a flex room.
Yes.
And I don't know what's that,
Power pantry.
Power pantry, I have no idea what that is. But these are some of the things we're able to add in. At the larger setbacks, the original ones, you're gonna have pretty much a lot of cookie cutter type houses, which we don't really want to create something that we're proud of, but we also want it to be something that Columbia County can be proud of, so that's.
Did that clarification answer your question?
I'm good with that, if that's,
Okay.
as long as me and Will know.
Okay, all right.
But we're okay, you know, we understand about the Osbell survey, have no problem with that. I have been in contact with Stacy or Tracy? The sewer guy.
Stacy.
Talking about that, we'll work through all of that. There's nothing in the conditions that really are any detrimental. It's just, I wanted a little clarification. Will had sent me the email, but
Great, thanks.
if there's any questions.
Gentlemen, any questions?
I'm just for the record, I personally don't think we ought to have any lots with as low as 5 and 6 foot setbacks, and that's just my opinion. I think we got too much of that now. We're overcrowded in subdivision.
And we have looked at stormwater on that. We can handle that. I've done it with other areas where a lot of different ways. Tillery has 5 foot setbacks and there's no stormwater issues up there.
Gentlemen, any other questions? All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you, appreciate it.
This is a public hearing, or is there anyone here that'd like to speak either for or against this particular rezoning? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and accept a motion to approve, disapprove, or to postpone.
Mr. Chairman, excuse me. I make a motion to disapprove RZ 22-03-14.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, all in favor of the disapproval? Okay. Motion to disapprove passes 5-0. Mr. Butler filed VA 220305, variance to section 90-53.
So we're gonna see if the PowerPoint's gonna work.
What magic
We're
happened?
done.
Scroll down.
I complained enough about it, that's what happened.
We're starting over?
5 minutes to get to the end.
Yeah.
Hang on.
Switch hands if you need.
Purple tunnel.
No, that's not workman's comp there.
All the stuff on the golf course, wasn't that amazing?
Yeah, right. There was the concept plan. Plats.
Pretty presentation.
Aren't you sad you missed it the first time around?
Been through the whole meeting without them.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get
Bill,
her
why don't you
done.
go ahead and start
Don't meet
your
with that.
presentation while we're catching
No
up?
problem.
Wood.
This is a request for a variance out at 7517 Lakeside Drive to reduce building setbacks for property currently zoned R4 recreational residential. Everything around it is zoned R4 as well. So we'll wait till we get to the actual, it'll help to be able to see the pictures of it. Again, everything around it is zoned R4. It shows the location or the aerial view of the property. We'll be talking about all these accessory buildings here in a moment. And it shows the existing site. Again, you'll notice here in a moment, that building is now gone. And the plat of the property, and also the as-built. So what we're dealing with this evening is these 4 accessory buildings here. All of them are within the building setbacks. And part of this comes from a complaint, a code enforcement complaint regarding primarily this structure here. So one of the things, if we go to the next slide. So again, this shows the complaint. This building here was the issue. Again, we'll go to the next one. The applicant has removed this fencing structure, and all the other ones are still in place. Overall, all these structures are either barely over the 400 square foot requirement to meet building setbacks, or are less than that. So they would have a 5-foot setback. Now, the 2 that are in the back of in the backyard, they're both well within the 5-foot setback, so there's really nothing to do about them. However, they're not really harming anyone. They haven't harmed anyone in a long time. One of them does back up to the lake. Again, the carport you can see here. Again, this one is barely over 400 square feet. And again, we have not heard any complaint about it. So really no issues with it. Again, the one that is the problem has been removed. So again, this is a good compliance by the applicant in our opinion. We do have a condition. Again, with the variance, we'll necessarily want to waive everything and then cause a problem in the future. So it does have replacement of the existing carport is permitted in the current location. Our location meaning R4 building setbacks. Existing sheds and covers shown on the northern and eastern property line may be replaced at their current location only, or location meeting R4 building setbacks. That includes staff recommendation.
Gentlemen, any questions of staff? Okay, this is a public hearing. Is the applicant here? Yes, sir. Is there anything you'd like to add to staff's presentation? All right, thank you, sir. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone like to speak either for or against? Yes, ma'am. Please come forward. Give us your name and home address.
My name is Nicole Elder. I live at 6653 Wrightsboro Road, Harlem, Georgia, at 30814. My father's residence is, I'm supporting my father right now. His name is Joseph Lewis Beard Jr. He lives at 7515 Lakeside Drive, next to 7517. The large green building was actually level with the trailer when they moved in. If you see the large, okay, go back. There you go, William.
And you can draw on that screen if you'd like to.
Oh, can I really?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so this right here is where I had my dad's property surveyed. The 4x4s go back and my father's property comes over and it's in the middle of the 4x4s of this wooden fence. So actually, when they were supposed to have their land surveyed. They never had it surveyed. They had a general survey. So when I come home to my father, or go to my father's home, way over here, there was their little pink tab in the floor, or on the ground, sorry, not the floor. It took them 6 months to remove the green building. And then now they're asking for forgiveness. But if you go out there and you measure, your structure should be 55 feet from the center of the road. If you go on the back of their property, here, the fence line is very close on that their own core property on this end. There was 2 poles put out on these ends. I let them run it off that for my dad's property. But the reason I did that, I just wanted to see, you know, what was going on. But Mr. Hayes doesn't understand what that pole in that ground is. We moved in our home in 1993. Briley, I can't remember his last name. Sorry. Briley and Mary lived there, and I was a teenager. I loved driving my father's golf cart. So I take it and I come back around here and I'd be spinning. So he actually put these posts and put orange on them so I wouldn't bust my dad's tires on his golf cart. But it would I tripped over a million times, I promise you. So then on this side of Mr. Hayes's property, you'll see another post. So the reason he did this was because the fellow that lived here in 1993, he had people coming both ways.
I don't mean to be short, but I'm not sure I understand where you're going with this.
So my thing is Mr. Hayes never had his property appraised.
Are you talking about this as-built survey he submitted, the one we're showing right here?
Sir?
This is an as-built survey that he submitted with his application.
With Augusta?
Yeah, it's a land
Augusta
survey,
surveying?
yeah, by Brad Foster.
So where
And
is
Mr. Foster was wrong?
his markers?
It's on the actual survey itself. So,
His markers were on my dad's property. Can you go back?
so that, he's a surveyor, he's gonna go out there and find the actual markers.
Show you
and-
the picture, Mr.
If you want to, but if you're implying that Mr. Foster didn't do his job correctly, we have to go ask Mr. Foster what happened, not this body at all.
It's not us at all.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to go against, but, you know, they have to understand that they made my 74-year-old father that's fighting cancer sit there and watch that stupid building. He'd be out there banging and hammering. They should be getting him for noise.
Okay.
But
that's not
in
a
this
function of here.
So my point is that there was this is the survey that when they came out, and he even came to my father's house, and he told him that he hoped that they could still be friends. But I'm sorry, hold on one second. I'm trying to.
Okay, I'm gonna have to ask you to
Here we
hurry
go.
this up a little bit.
Who do I go to?
Will?
What are you trying to do?
Then he starts parking vans. Stuff on my dad's property. Also putting on other ladies.
If I'm not mistaken, this sounds like a job for the sheriff or for some attorneys and as a civil matter, not planning and zoning.
Where's the gal that was in the meeting?
Okay.
Where's she at?
My dad's. He put that yellow
Lady that was in-
So,
sticker
yeah.
right there.
Okay,
That's a general
Code
survey.
enforcement.
okay, ma'am, I'm gonna have to
I'm
ask
not
you.
gonna talk about what a survey is.
I'm gonna have to ask
not
you
a
to sit
survey.
down because
But
this.
again, Brad Foster is the one who actually did
Ma'am,
the
I
work.
appreciate you coming out, but this is a matter that really doesn't affect us. These gentlemen can direct you on where you probably need to
So
go.
he did have a real survey put on that property?
Again, that.
Yeah, and again, it shows the fences on his
That doesn't
property.
concern us here, so.
Everything.
And it's okay?
Again, Brad Foster did it. He has to sign his name to it. I mean, he's
Again.
held to lots of professional requirements.
Yes, sir.
If you wanna take him up on the matter, you can.
Oh,
That's the,
Mr. Will.
all right.
You have your
Thank you, ma'am. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak either for or against this particular variance? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing, accept a motion to approve with conditions, to disapprove, or to postpone.
I make a motion to approve a condition file VA 220305, variance to reduce building setbacks at 7517 Lakeside Drive.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Motion to approve passes 5-0. Have no legal matters. Do we have any staff or commissioner comments? Okay,
Join next week.
all right. Do we have any public comments? Yes, ma'am. Please come forward and give us a name and home address. No, we're not going to address folks back and forth. You can address this body, or you can meet with them later. Ma'am, that's not for us to decide here. That's not for us to decide. No, ma'am. We have no influence. We can't make anybody, we can't require them to do anything or adhere to anything. So, all right, do we have any other public comments? Mr. Skinner, we appreciate you coming out tonight. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do we hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Did you learn anything?
Motion to adjourn, 7:21. Next meeting is April 21st at 6 p.m.
Oh, you and Whitworth.
I have like 7:20.